What's up, you freaking geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to solve fractional exponents, or sometimes they're called rational exponents, right? So these are all the examples I'm going to cover. So let's start at the top over here. So here we have 25 raised to the 1/2. Now, whenever you have a 1 in the numerator, it's actually fairly easy to solve because 1/2, that's the same thing as the square root of this number. 1/3 is equal to the cube root of this number. 1/4 is equal to the 4th root of this number, right? And so on. So 1/5 is the 5th root, 1/6 is the 6th root, etc. So here, again, 25 raised to the 1/2, that's the same thing as the square root of 25, and that's equal to 5, right? Here, this is 1/3, so we know we're going to have the cube root, and it's of this number, right, the base, so that's 8. So the cube root of 8 is equal to 2. All right, here we have 1/4, so we know it's going to be the 4th root of this number, 256. And the 4th root of 256 is equal to 4. Okay, so again, whenever you have a 1 in the numerator, it's pretty easy. It's just converting it into a square root or cube root or 4th root, etc. Okay, but when you have something like this, 3/2, right? We don't have just a 1 in the numerator anymore. There's 2 steps that we need to follow to solve this type of problem, right? So the first thing we want to do is take out the numerator, okay? So here we have 16 raised to the 3/2, right? So if we take out the numerator, this 3, it's almost like we're factoring it out. If we take that out, we're going to be left with a 1 right there, right? So we're going to be left with 16 raised to the 1/2. Now, what do you do with the 3 that we took out? Well, you raise the whole thing to that same exponent, the 3. Okay, now the second step is basically what we've been doing over here. We've been just changing everything to a radical, right? So we're going to do the same thing right here. So right here inside these parentheses, we have 16 raised to the 1/2. Well, we know what to do there. That just means the square root of 16, right? So then this is going to be equal to the square root of 16. And again, that's raised to the 3rd power, okay? Now, the square root of 16 is equal to 4. Right, so here we have 4 raised to the 3rd power, which is equal to 64. Okay, let's try another one. So here we have 81 raised to the 3/4 power, right? So again, the first thing you want to do is take out the numerator, right? So we're going to take out that 3, basically just replace it with a 1. So then here in parentheses, we're going to be left with 81 raised to the 1/4, right? And then the 3 that we took out, we just raise the whole thing to that same exponent. Okay, so then here we have 81 raised to the 1/4. So again, that's the 4th root of 81, right? So in these parentheses, we're going to have the 4th root of 81. And again, it's raised to the 3rd power. All right, now the 4th root of 81, that's equal to 3, right? Because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 81, right? So then that's equal to 3. And we're still raising it to the 3rd power right there. So 3 cubed is equal to 27. All right, so our answer right here is 27. And let me clean that up a little bit. Now, what if we have a negative number and we're raising it to a fractional exponent? Well, it's still the exact same steps, right? So we're going to take out the numerator, this 4. So then in parentheses, we're going to have negative 64 raised to the 1/3, right? And then the 4 that we took out, we just put it right there on the outside. Okay, so then here we have negative 64 raised to the 1/3 power. So this is going to be the cube root of negative 64, right? So the cube root of negative 64 raised to the 4th. And sorry, I forgot to write it. There we go. So the cube root of negative 64 is equal to negative 4, right? Because negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 is equal to negative 64, right? So then in here, we have a negative 4, and that's raised to the 4th. Okay, and then negative 4 raised to the 4th power, that's equal to positive 256. Okay, and then lastly, let's talk about what we would do if we have a negative exponent. So here we have 8 raised to the negative 2/3, right? So what do we do when we have a negative exponent? Don't even think about a fraction. Just think of a normal number. So if we had something like 5 raised to the negative 2nd power. Well, in order to solve for this, we basically put a 1 in the numerator And then we put this whole thing in the denominator. The only difference is you make the exponent positive, right? So in the denominator, we would have 5 raised to the positive 2. Okay, so it's going to be the exact same thing over here. So 8 raised to the negative 2/3. The first thing we're going to do here is put a 1 in the numerator and then put this whole thing in the denominator. But again, we're going to make our exponent positive. So down here, we're going to have 8 raised to the positive 2/3. Okay, now we're going to go back to basically the steps we've been following so far. All right, so then here we can simplify this, right? So the first thing we want to do is take the numerator out and replace it with a 1. So then in parentheses, we're going to have 8 raised to the 1/3. And then the numerator that we took out, the 2, we're just going to put that on the outside. Okay, so then here, 8 raised to the 1/3 power, that's the same thing as the cube root of 8. Right, so in parentheses, we're going to have the cube root of 8, and that's raised to the 2nd power. And remember, we still have this 1 right there. Okay, so then if we simplify this, we're going to have 1 over the cube root of 8, that's equal to 2. So this is going to be equal to 2 inside, and it's still raised to that 2nd power. So 2 squared is equal to 4, right? So then this whole problem is equal to simply 1 over 4. So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below.